Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. How y'all doing? You are listening to the Apocalyptic Aftermath channel. My name is Seth, um, leader of the Underground, also known as King the Conqueror, also known as uh, the High Evolutionary, changing your DNA at an alarming rate. Yes, sir, let's go. So, it's your first time joining my channel. You are very welcome. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment. So interesting. I'm gonna take my last video. I felt like I was tripping a little bit. I thought I was tripping, but anyways. But apparently I wasn't. So I guess I'm not the only one that's seeing what I'm seeing. But I feel like it's. I was still tripping. I was still a little bit angry. Obviously, but I think it's just fatigue. I think that's what's going on. Spirit is a little bit fatigued. They've been fighting off a lot of attacks, which is completely normal. They've been fighting off a lot of attacks, and so yeah, it's kind of normal. It's kind of normal. They've been fighting off a lot of attacks recently, so it's just fatigue, and I guess that's why people should rest a little bit, because it works both ways. The spirit is, if you're fatigued, then spirit is fatigued. If spirit is fatigued, then you gotta rest. It's not necessarily that you're fatigued, but you still have to rest. You have to wait a minute. You have to wait a minute, bro. So I guess that's very interesting. I'm still surprised, though I thought it was just me, to be quite honest. So it is what it is. It is what it is. But so, nevertheless, we're not quitting. We're not stopping. Um, we're not quitting. We're not stopping. Now, I am aware that a couple of people are starting to notice these blockages that are being sent at them whenever they speak out. And that is a normal process. I was talking about that. I was talking about this with a friend of mine, a good friend of mine. I was talking about this with a good friend of mine, and I was trying to. I didn't want to say what I said to him, to be honest. And it's not that I was looking to see what his reaction was. I believe that it was okay to say what I said at the time that I said it. Because there's a lot of secrets in the world. The world is a very mysterious place. Like, Earth is a very mysterious thing. We like to talk about aliens and stuff like that and blah blah blah, but the Earth itself is mysterious. It's a very mysterious thing. There's a lot of mysteries. Sorry to be redundant today. I'm a little bit tired. Please forgive me. I actually woke up really late. And I slept early. I slept early and woke up late, so I'm very tired. So, nonetheless, the world's a mysterious place. So there's a lot of things that there's high magic, ancient magic, old magic is something to practice with a lot of courage. But I don't know if it takes a lot of courage. I do know that not a lot of people practice ancient magic. But so because of that, I'm saying it takes a lot of courage. And I'm basing myself off of my own experiences, right? And I do feel that it takes a lot of courage to practice. It takes some amount of courage to practice ancient magic, right? Because ancient magic is, you're basically that, let's say, in the form of the apocalyptic aftermath magic system, you kind of become well, just like any other magic system. Well, some magic system, because let's say you practice Ars Goetia. Ars Goetia is not gonna ask you to become one with the world and blah 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 blah, right? But if you take like a martial art, like a discipline like Buddhism will ask you to become, you have to become one with the world before attaining illumination, right? Enlightenment, right? So, or I don't know, like the Hinduism, right? Or things of that matter. I'm sure there's other practices that asks the same thing. I think even Wicca kind of asks you to become one with the world, because Wicca is like more a nature based magic system, so it's kind of normal to be one with the world, right? But the apocalyptic aftermath, you see now, okay, one of my in the apocalyptic aftermath, and this is only in the apocalyptic aftermath magic system, and this is nowhere else. If somebody says that this is part of his magic system, he's lying, and he took that from me. You know, in the apocalyptic aftermath magic system, we develop a link with this is how this magic works, right? We develop a link with not nature. We actually flip it on its head. We connect with everything that is as a whole, period, right? You know, we spend, to us, to, like, let's say a druid or mage, you know, he's connected to nature, or alchemist. He works with natural materials. We work with unnatural materials, right? So we work with plastic, right? We work with plastic. We work with humans. To us humans, plastic and concrete is our nature, right? That's the nature that we connect to, right? This is how we are able to hold a certain amount of influence within the civilized world, compared to, let's say, a sage or a witch doctor would have some form of influence over nature, right? And I'm not saying that they are better than us or we are better than them. I believe also that in the magic system that I have created, I feel like it is only a normal process to be able, because, okay, I'm going to sound disrespectful, but that's only because I don't know how to explain it in a better way. I think that nature practice is, it's a beginner state of mind. That's that you begin in nature, right? So basically, so what I'm saying is, I'm kind of saying apocalyptic aftermath is for more advanced witches, more advanced witches, more seasoned, right? More seasoned witches, right? Because I'm not saying like you don't need to be, you know, super blah 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 blah, like, you know, but there is a difference, right? And I'm not saying like, you know, nature doesn't help me or things like that. That's not what I'm saying. But you start off in nature, right? And everything evolves with time, and you have to accept this evolution if that's not your limit. And for some people, they're okay with having this connection with nature and seeing synchronicities and accepting the world as it is. For some people, that's where they stop. For most people, that's where they stop. But I also think some people stop at that particular point because they might be a little bit too stubborn, right? They might be a little bit how do you say they might be a little bit stubborn in their beliefs, and because you have to let things evolve naturally, right? No pun intended, or pun intended, however whatever. So it's normal to have evolution. It's normal to have some form of progress, and if you spend enough time with nature, if you understand what nature is telling you, is trying to tell you, if you're capable of understanding what nature is telling you, then you can progress towards actualizing the same connection that you have with nature, but with everything else, whether it's natural or unnatural, regardless. So basically, in the apocalyptic aftermath system, you learn to deepen your connection with things at a point where you are part of the all, right? Like you're part of the scenery. Like, you're literally the wallpaper of the fabric of reality, right? Like, let's say like reality is a house. You become the wall of the house and the furniture and so on and so on. And you are also in the house too. So you're basically holding two positions at one point in the same time and space, which is scientifically impossible, judging by physics. Like one atom cannot hold two spaces in one dimension, allegedly. I don't believe that that's true. I believe that you can have superpositions, which is actually science does talk about superposition, and superpositions is basically a particle that is holding two spaces at the same time in the same dimension or in two different dimensions. It's called superpositioning, right? So when you deepen when you deepen that aspect of yourself, that nature connection, I feel, my theory, it's more than a feeling. My theory is that you can then become one with everything that is, not just the trees, not just the birds, not just the animals and the leaves and the ground, everything, absolutely everything, humans, anything and everything, right? Ideals, consciousness, mindsets, lifestyles, anything. And it is, because it is you. Because everything that you are seeing is an aspect of yourself. And it's like a couple of years ago, I made a video that was not very well received. It was not very well received because most people don't like to see themselves as criminals, right? And it's a bit disrespectful, but I understand it. And let me explain to you why it's disrespectful. Because you as a entity, as a you who are infinite consciousness, you are infinite consciousness. So if you're infinite consciousness, you have lived many different timelines, right? So you have to understand, in one of these timelines, you were a criminal. So, or in one of these timelines, you had a connection to more off-brand, lawless type of thinking, right? Because the idea of criminality, of course, isn't good. We all know that. We're aware that they hurt people, yada, yada, yada. We know that. We're not stupid. That's why there's fucking prisons and shit like that. Duh. But, nevertheless, let's say, this is why I feel like it's a little bit disrespectful, because, let's say Prohibition era, right? Was the Prohibition era wrong or good? Was it just or wrong? People have the right to drink alcohol if they want. It's their choice. Is it really a good thing to prohibit the use of alcohol and probably give someone a sentence for consuming alcohol? Or, or just like today, I don't feel like today is a prohibition type of stuff, because the drugs that we are using does kill us. So it is normal that there are laws for these drugs not to get in children's hands, and so on, because they might die, right? But alcohol, I mean, a kid literally has to drink a lot of alcohol in order to die from it, to be quite honest. Now, I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing. I'm just stating facts. So now you have the 1920s, stereotypical gangsters so in the beginning, you have to understand this person was a man. This person was a man in the beginning. And then he had the idea that, well, I think people should be able to enjoy alcohol somewhere. I'm not saying that's everybody's idea. I'm not saying that all the gangsters had like this righteous idea of, sticking it to the man by giving the people what they want, a la Robin Hood. That's not what I'm saying. But somewhere in there, there's an idea, there's a consciousness, a flow, a stream of thought that is consistent and obvious. Because at the end of the day, you're trying to have fun, but you can't have fun because the law states you can't drink. And then you have these guys over here that's like, well, fuck what the law says. Like, well, fuck that. Let's give them some drinks. Right? Of course, they made some profit. And then, well, when they started making profit, I guess that's where everything went to shit. Right? Proverbially. Right? I know there's a lot of people that like hearing that. Right? So, a lot of people don't like money. So, this one's for you, kid. Man, saying. So, anyways. So, what I'm trying to say is, okay, this is the part that the devil, that Satan, Lucifer is not going to like. Let's say you are, okay, so let's go back to the Bible, right? So let's go back to the Bible. God is the Alpha and Omega. So that means God is good and evil, right? Allegedly. Bullshit, but that's what the Bible says. And if you understand that the Bible is just a set of principles that is applicable to your own reality, i.e. magic, a code of law, a code of conduct, a codex gigas of spells, which is now called the Bible, which is basically a grimoire, you understand that that notion is applicable to you. So especially if you consider yourself part of the all. So if you are part of the all and you are part of God, and God is good and evil, so then you are too, right? So you have to understand, even though you want to be a good person and you want to be known as an all-around good person, I guess that's fine, whatever. That's your business. But you have to understand that somewhere in your consciousness, there's an evil part too. There's a bad part of yourself too. Or not necessarily a bad part of yourself, because you could have been a very good person this whole fucking time. But that doesn't mean that all the good that you did never actually hurt a person. You might not be able to hurt a fly today, but there is a remnant of yourself that probably has and probably could. So when the dead die, where do they go? Do they go to heaven and live long happy lives and shit like that? Or do they become part of the all too and become things that people proclaim to be angels or demons? Are they still inside of our atmosphere, or are they really whisked away to this kingdom per se thing? Or do they become pure energy? Do they become one with the original timeline that they preceded from? So I'm Seth today, but 40 years ago I was, I don't know, Stone-Faced Langham, right? 40 years before that, I was a little girl living in the prairie. I was a little white girl. I was a little white girl living in the prairie. 40 years before that, I was 50 years before that, I was a soldier in World War One and Two, or just the second one and not the first one, or vice versa, right? 100 years before that, I was a Catholic Baptist priest, right? White or Chinese shit, right? And we can keep going forever like this, right? Until you end up at the beginning of time, and I was a fucking dinosaur once. I was a triceratop, or a fucking T-Rex, or a pterodactyl. Right? Because these creatures called dinosaurs were a fucking civilization. It's not like there was only one T-Rex or one triceratops. No, they had children, they died, and then they lived again. So those creatures that had a life, had a consciousness, were reincarnating too. And then humans came along. Then humans did the same things. One of those humans probably had the spirit of a T-Rex or a saber-toothed tiger when he was born, which made him a little bit stronger, a little bit faster, a little bit more aggressive. Or maybe he just had an aggressive personality because of that energy that's in him. He wasn't aware where that energy came from, but he had a lot of energy. And then you had magic, had shamanism that was kind of like, deciphering where those energies came from. And the shaman could say, this dude right here has the soul of a triceratops. And then he would wear triceratops fucking necklace and, bones and stuff, because that's what he represented. And then that guy died. Those guys kept dying, right? And then his great-grandson had the spirit of his great-granddad. So now the shaman is like, he is the great-granddad. They didn't say he was a triceratops. They say he was his great-granddad. And his great-granddad had the spirit of the triceratops. And the triceratops probably had the spirit of a T-Rex because he got killed fighting a T-Rex. And then he was reincarnated into a triceratops, but he was actually a T-Rex before being a Triceratops. Like, no, that Triceratops killed the T-Rex, and then the grandson of the Triceratops, has the soul of the T-Rex, and so everything is, just bunched itself up together, right? It's quantum mechanics, quantum physics, right? Everything is bunched up together and goes through things and go out of things, and everything goes through you and out of you at the same fucking time, right? So we're just talking shit here. There's no, I'm bragging about my magic system right now. That's what I'm doing. Whatever, so I'm talking about my magic system here. So all these reincarnation, this particular reincarnation of yourself, and it's okay to consider yourself a good person, but I think it's a little bit of a disservice where you are not utilizing certain aspects of yourself, when you do not recognize, even if you don't practice magic. I just feel like it's a disservice to not recognize who you truly are. I feel like it's a disservice to deny, to judge and criticize a particular set of people and not be aware that. And if you say that you're spiritual and you believe in reincarnation, and you believe that because you believe that you are a good person and you believe in the reincarnation, that exempts you from not ever being that kind of person. Yes, you were. Once or twice. Maybe not a lot of times. There's some people that can't think of anything else but being a criminal. Those people probably reincarnated a multitude of times as a criminal, just like you probably reincarnated a multitude of times as a good person, obviously. But when you are whole, when you become one with everything, when you truly evolve past the line of birds and trees, no pun intended, no offense meant, but when you go beyond the birds and the trees and you go into the ether and the vastness and ultimate darkness that is reality, right? You were every one of those things. And those people or things, I don't know why I said things, you were every one of those people. And when you, things too, you were things too. It's like, so when you accept this and you become this, you have to realize that those same people, those people that are not here, those characters, because a character is a god, right? Those characters that existed on earth that were larger than life hold a important space in the known reality. They become part of a pantheon, right? Like say Al Capone is now deified, right? Now, I'm not saying you should connect with the spirit of Al Capone. That's not what I'm saying. You know, but he has an iconic stance, and there's probably someone out there, which I don't necessarily want to know, but there is probably somebody out there that has a lot of Al Capone energy, because Al Capone was a very violent person. But he was a cool guy too. At the same time, he wasn't that bad. I mean, like, he was pretty bad, but anyway, whatever. There's probably somebody out there that has a lot of Al Capone energy, right? Me personally, myself, I have some of these people inside of a pantheon, inside of an invisible, unbeknownst pantheon. And there's a lot of people in those pantheons. There's a tremendous amount, because there has been a tremendous amount of heroes and villains in human history. And some of those heroes and villains were larger than life. Like, let's say Alexander the Great. People talk about how amazing Alexander the Great was, right? He's a mythical figure that actually existed. Shit, there's more proof. Well, allegedly, there's more recounted and detailed accounts of Alexander the Great than there is of Jesus. Or Marcus Aurelius, who's a good man and a great philosopher. You know, and the Greeks have many mythological stories, but they also have great heroes like Hector, who people kind of associate with Hercules. I mean, sure, if you watch the movie, he kind of died like a bitch. If you watch the fucking Troy movie with fucking Brad Pitt, he kind of died like a bitch. But Hector was a complete and utter fucking badass. If anybody could have killed Achilles, it was Hector. Because Hector was a fucking savage. Good man, but very strong. Stronger than most men. Or even Paris. There's a lot of details account about Paris sleeping with other men's wives. That's like a thing. In the movie, they made him look like a bitch. Again. But this dude is literally known for doing that shit. Like, literally. Like, he does that all the fucking time. Who was a real person. Who was a real man. He was allegedly, counting from the stories, was a very beautiful, very handsome man. And he was a real person. He did that shit all the fucking time. And Hector was a very real man. And he fucking won a lot of wars. And he would kick a lot of ass. So these characters become larger than life, and they exist in their own pantheon. They have like transcended a reality thanks to our own consciousness, because it's kind of like I said, the observer holds as much power as the one that's doing. If everybody, which is like something that Illuminati loves to do to people, if everybody denies the existence of a person, this is why the Illuminati does that to people. They like to crush souls, they like to crush spirit. The Illuminati loves to do that. Before they completely kill you, they have to destroy the idea of you, because killing you before the idea of you is crushed, there's no difference. It's like you're not even dead. It's actually it's going to be worse. So they have to crush the idea of you. They have to reduce you to nothing spiritually, visually and spiritually, and inside of the intellect mass consciousness of the world. They have to destroy you in that shape first, and then they can kill you. If they don't destroy that aspect of you, it's not gonna, you just, it's like you're not even dead. It's like you didn't even die, right? You'll still be there. So that is the most dangerous thing to do, which they have obviously learned that either the hard or the easy way. I am not sure, but whatever, regardless. If the idea of Hector didn't stay in people's minds, if his recollections were not stated anywhere, right, he probably wouldn't have ascended. Well, he would have ascended, but most likely what I believe would happen is that he would have to come back to Earth so he can actually be what destiny intended him to be, whatever destiny is or whatever destiny means. What I mean is, I don't know the astrology of Hector. I should probably do that, and I would probably figure out who he represented, right? Because I don't believe that Hector is actually Hercules. I think Hercules is one person and Hector is another, obviously, duh. But there's some scholars out there that kind of think Hercules and Hector was probably the same person. I don't believe that that's true, but it could be, it could be. But anyway, like I said, I did not research, and I probably could, because I think there's like documents about when he was born, where he was born, what time, his age, all that shit, eye color, hair color, all that fucking shit, body type, whatever. And if I look at all those things, I could probably decipher, his life and times. I could probably decipher who his patron deity is, god or goddess, who he represents. And when you represent something and you're supposed to be something, and somebody else stops you from being that thing, which is not as easy as it sounds, but when it does happen, I believe that this person that is trying to stop you has interrupted something that was supposed to be. Because let's say you're trying to destroy me, but I represent Lucifer, right? It's not me that you're trying to kill. Yes, I'm the one that's dead, but you're trying to stop the energy of Lucifer to come into the world, right? We can all agree on that. So let's say I am stopped in this lifetime, but I am actually supposed to bring a sliver of that energy through, but I did not accomplish that task, right? I think I would have to come back. If I die, I would have to be reincarnated and start over. Well, not completely over, but start where to come back to start where to finish what I started, basically. I have to come back to finish what I started, right? Because that's who I am, because that's what I am. That is my essence. And you can stop the physical body from moving, but you can't stop the energy from flowing. Unless you have like a energy killing gun that doesn't kill the person, but kills the fucking energy instead, right? Like, so anyways, I'm giving people ideas here. Sorry about that. But still, I digress. You're trying to like, you're like, no, I don't want Lucifer's energy on Earth, so I'm gonna stop everybody that has that energy in them, so that energy doesn't come through, right? And you have to, the worst part about all this is, the sad and worst part about all this is this Illuminati thing. These guys are literally trying to stop all of the gods' different energies to come into the earth. Why are they trying to do that? Why would they care? Because it's a stupid question, to be quite honest. I feel like that's a stupid question. I feel like I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I feel like it's a stupid question. I feel like somebody that would ask me, why would the Illuminati stop the God's energy to come in? I mean, think about it for 2 seconds, really. Like, come on, dude. Anyway, but I'm gonna say it anyway. But I feel like that's a stupid question. I feel like it's almost disrespectful. Like it's undermining. It's undermining, and it's dismissive. I feel like that's a dismissive question to be like, well, I don't get why the Illuminati would, like, come on, dude. Duh. Come on. Like, anyway, so for those that sincerely don't understand why they would do that, it's for the simple fact that this energy, you don't need. If people were able to connect to their higher selves, they would connect to a form of intelligence, and even, dare I say, a form of technological science. I'm overstating here, obviously, but bear with me. They would achieve a form of intelligence and some kind of spiritual science that would enable them to live amongst themselves without the need of stepping over each other's necks. I feel like there would be a form of utopia. It wouldn't be perfect, because humans are humans and we are born imperfect, and that's just who we are. And we are the representation of good and evil at the same time. So bad things would happen regardless. But there's a difference between doing bad just for the sake of doing bad and having bad things happening because accident happens. Shit proverbially happens. Like, and I'm okay with shit happening, that's fine. When the whole what's not good is when the whole entire world is okay with more than just shit happening. Right? Nowadays, we don't really care about children's safety. We don't care about women's safety. We don't care about children's safety. We don't even care about our own safety. Whatever these groups of people say goes. Everybody does it without asking a fucking question, which is horrible. And no one wants that except God, because that serves him. Because, like, you're complacent, and all that fear all these negative emotions, all that insecurity, fear, culpability, shame, zealot, overzealous type of belief in him gives him a lot of power. It's like I said in my other video, man, you're sitting there giving everything you have to the guy, and you're literally consenting to it. So he already has permission to take as much energy from you as possible, puts you in negative situation, which is the equivalent of 1,000 fucking nutrient bombs, and he's just eating that shit like it's fucking fast food. Pardon the pun. So where was I going with this? What was I saying? So anyways, all this energy. So these groups are doing these things. So I don't really, there's no way that the gods feel like this is the way to go. Like there's nobody in their right minds would be like, oh yeah, I'm okay with you having all the power and destroying all of my children and taking all the, what the fuck kind of fucking shit is that? Like what kind of stupid fucking plan are you fucking hypnotized? Like that's that's hypnosis. And I feel like people are under hypnosis, and maybe there might be some gods that are under hypnosis. I feel like there is a form of global hypnosis, and if it's not hypnosis, it's Stockholm syndrome. There's a lot of people that have Stockholm syndromes. Like they have this. It's like they're ready to defend the people that hurt them the most, right? Like they're ready to fight, because that's what Stockholm syndrome is. When you have Stockholm syndrome, you will fight a person that's trying to help you. That's what Stockholm syndrome is. You get like, so I feel like either people are under a massive hypnosis, or people just have Stockholm syndrome. Like they're not hypnotized, but they have like sympathy for their overlords, right? Their slave master overlords, right? You know. And maybe in the spirit world, some spirits might have a little bit of Stockholm syndrome. And especially in the notion of God. You know, if God did create everything, which I severely doubt it, but if it did create everything, you know, I feel like, because some people still see, there's some spirits that still see God, even though he's a piece of shit, you know, you wouldn't shed a tear for if he died. They still consider him as their dads. No pun intended, no offense meant. Sincerely. You know, they still see him as this thing worth some form of devotion for some fucking reason, right? And you know, so there might, like, as I say, as below, so above. As below, so above. So there might be some energies that still, even though you're doing the right thing, you're standing up, you're doing the right thing, and you believe that that's true, there might be some spirit that still have a little bit difficulty completely letting go, right? Because these entities, these spirits, like, let's say Hector was a human. Even if Hector right now is looking at me and with a fucking giant fucking sword, and he's like this fucking badass sitting on a throne somewhere in this fucking pocket universe a la Rick and Morty and shit, he has emotions, or he had emotions. He has, of course, he has emotions. Of course, there are some things that are more preferable to him because he's not all that is, right? Or maybe he is all that. But what I mean is, he loves swords. Swords were part of his life since he was a kid. He grew up with a sword. He died with a sword. So he's a sword loving guy, right? I think he would attest to that, right? So of course, if somebody's wielding a sword, he's going to be more prone to like this guy. And what I'm trying to get at here is, even if you're a god and you represent everything that is, you still have preferences. And if you have preferences, that means you have emotions. Because if you didn't have emotions, you wouldn't have preferences. And if you don't have any preferences, that means you're like a blank slate. You are neither here or there. So you have to have a certain amount of emotions. You have to be able to feel things in order to become something. If you feel nothing, you can't be anything. So you have to feel something. It doesn't have to be over the top, but you have to be okay with saying, like, I fucking love Jello. You know, no matter what happens, no matter what the situation, there is one thing on your fucking mind. It's fucking Jello. And then you become the god of Jello. You know, eventually you'll become the god of Jello, because you have a one-track fucking mind on fucking Jello, and there's nothing else that you can think of or want to think of. And no matter what the situation is, you are always going to be on the side of Jello. So that means if there is a god of Jello, you are connected to that god. And if there isn't, there's a higher probability that you will become the god of Jello. So all this started this video because people are fighting. People want to fight the Illuminati and shit like that. And this, I know I'm like stretching the sauce here. I stretched the sauce. We went off rails, but we're not actually off rails. It's just, what I'm saying is extremely complicated, right? And very difficult to explain. And like I said, I was talking to my friend and I was explaining him these aspects, because he's like, well, this is fucking dangerous, these guys, and that, you know, I'm ready, but this is dangerous, stuff like that. And I completely agree. But like, you know, and I feel like I might have answered he might feel like the way that I answered might have been arrogant a little bit. And I didn't mean to be arrogant. It's just that I don't know much else than this. You know, I try to be interested in human things, you know, like, and I grew up reading comic books. So of course, you know, I'm interested in a lot of things, you know. But this is mostly all I know, like spiritual matters, spiritual warfare. This is all I know. This is all I've ever been. I've tried getting out of these spiritual warfare battles things. It didn't pan out, as you can obviously see. You know, like it didn't work, man. You know, so I'm saying this from a place of confidence and not arrogance. And what I was trying to tell him is, well, yes, the Illuminati exists and they're doing things and blah, blah, blah. But you have to understand that the Illuminati, like I stated a couple of moments ago, the Illuminati represent an energy also. That's why they call themselves Illuminati. They call themselves the light. That's what Illuminati means. It means light. They represent the light. Who is the light? God. Who is God? The thing that controls the universe, allegedly. Hello? As above, so below. As above, so below. If I'm like that up there, then I'm like that down here. If I'm like that down here, then I'm like that up there. So who's God? What is he doing? What does he look like? How does he think? The answers are all in front of you. They're not up there, they're not down there, they're right in front of your face. But you have to develop another set of eyes in order to see that. Because not everybody is wise enough to understand these things that which we speak of. I know a couple of people that are on my channel. That's why they're on my channel, because they understand what I'm saying. But not everybody does. And sometimes we take our intelligence for granted because we think just because I understand what he's saying and he's saying what he's saying, then everybody else understand what he's saying and what I'm saying. No. Absolutely not. I would like that to be so. Sometimes I do think like that. Sometimes I'll be jabbering and shit thinking like, oh, everybody fucking understands this. No. No. So that's why it's important not to be timid. Because if you're timid, you might, you might lose yourself. You might lose your power. Because you are more. Not everybody is the same. Not everybody is created equal. The world, the human consciousness will push. I face this a lot. When I push against the world pushes back. But that doesn't mean that the world is right. That doesn't mean that I'm wrong and the world is right. That doesn't mean shit. That's just human consciousness that can't come, that has a limitation of understanding. And there is a limitation of understanding, or else we'd be living in a perfect world. So you can't act as if the human global consciousness is God and that it understands everything. No. You are who you are. You are a God, and you have to understand that you're living with humans, and humans sometimes have difficulty swallowing the pill, or sometimes they might be fearful of things, and you're a thing that the world might be fearful of. The world is known for not accepting differences. You're making a God out of something that considers racism a legit thing. No pun intended, no offense meant. I'm speaking generally, globally. You're speaking to a spirit that believes in racism. You're speaking to a spirit that voted for Joe Biden. You know, this is not God. You can't mix the two together. And if it is God, then you have to understand that God has severe limitations. Limitations that makes you above him. Far beyond him. Far beyond his comprehension. Things, you are something that he will never be able to achieve. Because you have the potential to achieve great things. Many things. But now we're getting off track again. What I'm trying to say is when you're battling the Illuminati, when you're inside of this, you're pissed off, you're tired of this shit, and you're a spiritual person. And and this is because there's people that fight the Illuminati on different levels and different platforms. There's like conspiracy theorists, you know, they're like journalists, they're frontline, you know, soldiers, right? They're the ones that get shot. They're the ones that get shot, right? And then you got those are infantry units, and then you have squadrons, right? You have like Navy SEALs. You know what I mean? Those are the guys that, you know, they go inside of a bunker, or they specifically target specific areas, right? They're the ones that get shot after. Everybody gonna get shot. Okay, I'm gonna stop. But so there's different levels, there's different layers, there's different levels of how people are thinking. And if the Illuminati is everywhere, the Illuminati is the Eye of Sauron. And if you hadn't noticed, there's not one level of society or employment that the Illuminati is not in. Healthcare system, Justice Department, government. They're there too. Lawyers are fighting Illuminati people. Doctors are fighting Illuminati people. The judges are fighting Illuminati people. Cops are fighting Illuminati people. Gangsters are fighting Illuminati people. They're everywhere. They're the all-seeing eye. So on every level, people fight these things. The problem is nobody can communicate with each other because of the way that they conduct their lives that keeps them away from each other. So there's not a cohesive fucking Kamehameha Hadouken Dragon Ball attack towards these people because of that. Which would be very fucking easy. But there is not one leader capable enough to bring these people together and bring them the safety that they need in order to remove this energy entity being from this existence. So on a spiritual level, which they are in, of course, obviously, as everybody could state or notice, when you are a magician, a spiritualist, and you achieve the level, and when you grow into the level where you're at, I'm tired of that shit, whatever that shit is, and you are led or pushed into doing this, it's not just because it's the right thing to do. It's because that is a representation of the level of power. This is what I said to him. It's a representation of the level of power that you are currently achieving. Because at the end of the day, you have to understand that you are fighting an entity that is everywhere at all times. You're fighting a group of people that is everywhere at all times. So if spirits is pushing you towards saying something or doing something, is because you have the power to do it. And sometimes people believe that and they do it. But then they start seeing a whole bunch of weird shit going on, which they're not used to. And that makes them panic. And then they leave it be. And also, you know, I'm not talking about like, it's kind of normal if your money is going down and you have kids and shit. That's normal. You know, I don't have any kids on my charge, no pun intended, but I don't live with family. You know, I got nothing to lose, so it's easy for me to be like, I don't fucking care what the fuck kind of shit you do. You know, like, you know, to me it's easy to say. I mean, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. You know, of course, if you hurt one of my loved ones, some shit is going to happen to you. That is for fucking sure. You will probably fucking die. But nevertheless, I don't have anything close to lose. What I'm trying to say is, I'm not saying that that's a good excuse. What I'm trying to say is I understand where you're coming from, because I would be afraid of my loved ones being hurt too, obviously. But nevertheless, that is a story for another day, because today what you need to realize is the amount of power that you are accessing when you become part of this elite group of individuals capable of standing up to world powers at B. Because you have to understand, if you stand up to the Illuminati, you're not just standing up to just like physical beings. You're part of this biblical spiritual warfare that everybody keeps talking about. You know, those 144,000 shit, whatever the fuck that is. I don't believe in none of that crap. I think that's bullshit. I see it more in an Egyptian type of way. I think the Egyptian gnosis of Ra and that Leviathan creature, no pun intended, no offense meant to Lucifer, but it's kind of Leviathan. I forgot the name of that creature, but it's kind of Leviathan creature. It's like a big old snake of, you know, that tries to destroy the world every fucking night. And Ra, who is a singular person, has to push back against this gigantic, very powerful monster that keeps trying to destroy the world every fucking day. And I think that philosophy is applicable to alchemists and magicians, mystics. I do believe that that's how it should be. When you attain a specific level of power, it is normal for you to be able to do that. Not saying that you have to. It is a choice at the end of the day. You have free will. You don't have to become this entity that solely declares himself solely responsible for managing the energies, how the energies flow on earth. At the end of the day, God is not balance. You are balance. You create the balance. If you deny everything that's happening around you, of course there's going to be imbalance. If you are aware of everything that is going on around you, you become the balance. You are the generator of this said balance. Of course, it's not that easy. Of course, you just do the best you can, and that's fine. Because you're not supposed to be doing this by yourself any motherfucking ways. Ra was not alone. God is not alone. Lucifer is not alone. Nobody's alone. Aphrodite is not alone. Zeus is not alone. Vishnu, Shiva is not alone. Nobody's alone. Nobody. There's not one goddamn person on this goddamn universe that's alone. Not one. So, it is all your choice. This might seem dubious and kind of cryptic, but I'm trying to be positive without attracting the wrong kind of energy, because I don't want you to have too much confidence, because I could give you an enormous amount of confidence and belief in yourself and your power, but then they would come around because they're listening to this video. You know what I mean? Like, your biggest fan is your biggest hater, right? And that's facts. Like, I have this dude, I thought it was someone, but it's not that person. I'm starting to think it's not the person I thought it was. But there's a person on my channel that literally spends, like, he listens to my videos before anybody else. I shit you fucking not. I could screenshot it and show you. This person listens to my videos before anyone, and he leaves a thumb down on every video. It doesn't matter what the fuck I'm talking about. He leaves a thumbs down in every video. And he's the first one to watch the video as soon as it comes out. As soon as it comes out, the first thing I get is a thumbs down. And that's fine. I don't fucking care. Your biggest fan is your biggest hater. So they're listening to this. And this is the reason why you have to decipher what I'm saying by yourself. And I'm judging by the mystical practices that you uphold, that you will easily be able to decipher what I'm saying. And even if you're not a mystic, you could probably still decipher what I'm saying if you have enough logic and intelligence and know-how, cleverness. If you're adept in mental acrobatics, I can't. You're fine. But like I said, I can't give you that much amount of energy, because they're gonna come and fuck with you, which is going to scare you away from even being curious about what I'm saying, which they might still will, just because I said that's what they were trying to. So, that still might happen, But then again, you have to understand that if it does happen, it's because I'm right. So the clever thing to do for the Illuminati would be to not do anything at all. That would be the smartest thing to do. The smartest thing to do would be because if I am saying stupid shit, then you're not gonna notice everything. But if they react just because I said something, then that would mean that I'm not saying stupid shit. So the smartest thing to do would be to do nothing. Anyways, the word of the day is clown. Okay, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So anyway, I'm gonna stop the video right here. I forgot to ask you guys to subscribe to my channel. subscribe to my channel. Have a good day. Have a good weekend. For all you freedom fighters out there, believe in yourself. Give it a moment. And it's normal to take hits. It's normal to take hits, man. Like, you're gonna take hits regardless. You can't go into a boxing match and expect a Floyd Mayweather your ass all through the goddamn battle. Like, that's just like, it's a little bit unreasonable, to ask, bro. Like, so you're gonna take hits. It's fucking normal. And yes, of course, you can see yourself. You can embody Floyd Mayweather energy, so you can not take hits, but it's still hard. Even Floyd Mayweather take punches here and there. It's not gonna be completely clean, no fucking hits, 0 hits, like 10-0 scorecard, 10-0, 10-0, 10-0, 10-0, 10-0. I mean, like, dude, it's normal. You're gonna take a hit there, here and there. But the problem, I don't think you're the problem. If you taking hits, I don't think you're the problem. I think other people, when they see you taking hits, that's where people should start cheering the most. That's where people should start, should be behind you the most, is when you're taking hits, not when you're winning. I mean, of course, what am I saying? Yes, when you're winning, of course, people should be behind you, but I feel like people are behind you. I don't see, me personally, I don't see that much support. There's a couple people listening, there's a couple people cheering me on, but I don't see that much support. I mean, there's clearly, I have too many videos. Even if I was talking all kinds of garbage, I have too many videos to have like 264 subscribers and average 30 to 40 views for 3 years. Come on, bruh. That's kind of ridiculous. There's people like not saying nothing. I mean, there's videos of people not even saying anything. Like, they're just like on the fucking screen, not saying shit. There's like 100 fucking views on it. Come on, man. Shit is fucked up. I don't see that much support. Of course, I think it is. I think I am being shadow banned. I think Google is fucking with my numbers. There's probably is people trying to subscribe to my channel and it's not showing up for some reason. But you need to think, use your brain, say something, use the comment section, complain, because that's not right. It's like going to vote. It's like you're going at the election. You're going to go vote for Donald Trump. You voted for Donald Trump like 6 times, and all those votes count. All the 6 times count, right? But it's Joe Biden that gets all the fucking votes though. And you keep counting, you keep voting, and the number don't change. Then you keep going every day to the guy's channel, to the fucking voting booth, and the number never changes. It's still the same. Even though this is a new day, you voted yesterday and you voted today, and then you go vote tomorrow, and the number is still at the same place, bro. That shit's fucked up. It's not just about me. They're not even considering. This is basically a scam. This is a scam. You don't have to like what I'm saying. You don't have to like what I'm saying. You don't have to like what I'm saying. You don't have to agree with what I'm saying. But you have to be aware that if they're doing that to you, how many fucking things are they doing it with? Or people they're doing it to? Because at the end of the day, that's still fucked up. You press subscribe yesterday, the number is still the same. You press subscribe the day later, the number is still the same. 3 years later, the number is still the same. But everybody else's number is going way the fuck up. What the fuck is going on? There's something suspicious happening. And how much do you think, like, okay, you might not value what I say, but how much are people valuing what you say? Shit works both ways. Let traffic flow both ways. The observer has as much power as the action taker. You better know that. So anyways, I'm out. See you guys later. Have a good one.